الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على من لا نبي بعده وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن تمسك بسنته إلى يوم الدين وسلم تسليما كثيرا أما بعد. As we continue this tremendous treatise by the great Imam Ahmad ibn Ali ibn Hajar al-Asqalani rahimahullah al-Mutawaffa سنة 856, the one who died 852, سنة 852, the one who died 852 after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. The time now is 7:16 p.m. Saturday evening, the 24th of August 2024 of the Gregorian calendar, which agrees with the, inshallah, the correct date. Inshallah is the 20th. Bismillah, the 20th of Safar, the year 1446, the year 1446, after the migration of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. We was discussing the affairs pertaining to what they call al-kafa'a wal-khiyar, sufficiency, and khiyar meaning the alternative or the choice, and affairs that's pertaining to marriage. We said that these matters is what Ahl-Ilm that you'll find that they made in a separate chapter, pertaining to matters of what is considered adequacy in marriage. In certain affairs you'll find, brothers and sisters, in which some of the matters are correct because it's in accordance with the Book of Allah and the Sunnah of our Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam. And some affairs you'll find that they mention, but there's nothing that substantiates it from the book or the Sunnah. But you'll find that Ahl-Ilm mention it, and you'll find that certain people that they fall into certain practices or certain cultural practices that nothing from the religion substantiate this. It's just a mere tradition or custom. But however, you was to contemplate on what they were doing, it's something that's in opposition. It's not something that is from the religion. So these are the matters that we are now covering. For example, we talked about the word al-kafa'a. The word al-kafa'a, where a person is kufu, a person is adequate. You'll find that Ahl-Ilm in this type of chapter, you'll find that they mention that. You'll say rajulun kufu'un laha, or here kufu or kufu'ah or kufu lahu, that she is adequate for him. So that's what we started on. So the matters pertaining to this, as we said, number one, we discussed the affair of what they call religion. Religion, adequacy in religion. Excuse me, everyone. Adequacy in religion. We talked about some of these matters pertaining to that. There's some details that I wanted to now give more clarity in, and that's pertaining to what they call fisk. And we'll talk about that in a minute, fisk. Because someone asked me online, what about fisk? And like we said, that affair has to have a little bit more dawabit, a little bit more principles in its affair, especially pertaining to marriage. We talked about affairs pertaining to the kaba'ir before the religion. If a person is known for zina and fornication, we talked about that's something that cannot be ratified or agreed upon. If a person is known for fisk as far as zina or homosexuality or lesbianism, or they're known to be an open fornicator or what have you, we know the narrations that totally prohibits that a person chaste can marry a person that's known for fornication and it's been established before they make tawbah. We talked about that hadith, right, everyone? The Prophet ﷺ said in the narration, لا يجلد الزاني المجلود إلا مثله. We covered that hadith. We talked about the narration and what it meant and what it necessitated. As you'll find, is the narration of the Prophet ﷺ that he said that الزاني المجلود يعني الذي ثبت زنا, الزاني المجلود, the lashed fornicator, does not marry except one similar to him or her. We said that the meaning of it is that a chaste person cannot marry a what? Fornicator or what have you before Tawbah. But after proper Tawbah, what is proper what? Conditions, and everything's been fulfilled, then a person can what? Marry them if that affair, like we said, has been established. But before that, we said, everyone, that affair is not what? Legislated, and it's not permissible. We talked about the qa'idah fiqhiyah. There was a qa'idah of fiqh that you'll find that the great Imam Ibn Uthaymeen mentioned. That he said that this affair is before marriage. It's before marriage. He said, let's just say both of them were upright in their religion. Then in the marriage, one became weak and he fell into this. Does that now nullify the marriage? What did we say? We said no. It does not nullify. But it is a grounds for what? Divorce. It is a grounds for talaq, no doubt. But it does not nullify the marriage. Because he said, al-ibtida, or as they say, al-ibtida aqwa min al-istidama. What does he mean? Or he said, al-istidama aqwa min al-ibtida. Al-istidama, everyone. Al-istidama aqwa min al-ibtida. That to continue the affair is more stronger in this instance here than when it started. What does he mean by that? Meaning, of course, before the marriage, it's not what? Permissible until the person makes proper tawbah. But like we said, let's just say they started the marriage contract between them. Right, everyone? They started the marriage contract, and may Allah protect us and protect you. One of them became weak within their religion, and it became tested. And they fell into fornication. Rather here in this instance is adultery. They fell into adultery. In this instance, does it say, or do we say that the marriage now, or the marriage contract is nullified? What do we say, everyone? What do we say it means? It's still what? It's still valid. But it does what? Give a grounds for talaq. It does. The person does have that option. So we'll talk about that in the affair of khiyar. So that's the word khiyar in the Arabic language, which means alternative choice, right? So you'll find in that matter, as we mentioned, that affair is pertaining to what? That gives a little more broad sense or detail in regards to fisk. So that's the reason why we need to learn these details. These details. So before the marriage contract, the person that's known for fornication or adultery, before tawbah and homosexuality and lesbianism and the likes of that. If that's been established, it's not permissible to marry that person. If the person, of course, as we know, is chaste. It's not permissible to be married off to an individual like that. But like we said, if tawbah has been established and they rectified their affairs between them and their Lord, and it's clear now amongst the people, everyone knows it's clear, then a person like that can marry a chaste person, similar to what that affair as we just said. Fine. So that's in regards to fisk. Fisk it also has a little bit more of a meaning of certain affairs. What we'll talk about, inshallah. So that's just some examples. That's just some. But there's others that we will talk about throughout the chapter, inshallah. So the affair, what we spoke about, we said number one, adequacy in what, everyone? Religion. Adequacy in religion. We know that these affairs are substantiated in the Book of Allah and also in the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. A person might ask, what about fisk in regards to prayer? Fisk. We know that in a lot of instances, rather you'll find the strongest opinion, a person that abandons the prayer is not considered adequate at all. Is it clear, everyone? It's not considered adequate at all. So that's kafa'ah in religion. Sufficiency in religion. So we're still talking about kafa'ah fi din, or what they call kafa'ah ad-diniyah. Sufficiency in religion. Sufficiency and adequacy in religion. So a woman cannot marry a man that's abandoned a prayer. Tariq as-salah. Why? Because that affair, even from Ahl Ilm that what? Let's say he's a fasiq, they still say she's not adequate at all. So on all levels, A person cannot marry a person that's abandoned the prayer at all. That type of fisq, and you'll find what looks and leans towards, or which is a position of a lot of the Sahaba, is that person has abandoned the fold of Islam. They're not even Muslim. For the person that's abandoned the prayer. A person that's abandoned the prayer. A person that's abandoned the prayer is not adequate for what? For a person that's praying at all. Whether it be the male or whether it be what? The female. Whether it be the male or the female. That kafa'ah is non-existent. That sufficiency is non-existent. So that type of affair, like we said, no one can marry a person that's abandoned the prayer. Even though you'll find, like we said, a lot of the evidences point towards is that the person that abandons the prayer is not even in the fold of Islam. They're not even in the fold of Islam that has abandoned the prayer. طيب. So that person that's تارك الصلاة ليس كفؤا لها. وكذلك المرأة التي تاركة للصلاة ليست كفؤا له. She's not adequate for him. And the man that's praying, she's abandoned the prayer, is not adequate what for her. A person might ask, what about that in regards to the marriage contract? What about the marriage contract? That will nullify the marriage contract. That person doesn't even have to pronounce talaq. If a person has abandoned the prayer, the divorce started. When they abandoned the prayer, the iddah started without you even pronouncing it. Is it clear, everyone? Yes. A person say, oh, you have to pronounce divorce because you have the option. No. There's no option. The marriage contract is null and void. As soon as a person abandons the prayer, the iddah starts. The iddah starts. And what's more productive and more secure is that a person leaves the prayer, they leave it off, everyone. And if they come back to Islam upon a statement of a lot of Ahl Ilm, and you'll find that the evidence is that is what points was correct, the affair of abandonment of the prayer is extremely dangerous. Extremely. Those type of affairs, you'll find that they say that an individual, if they come back to Islam and they made proper tawbah, that they have to renew their what? Marriage contract. They have to renew the marriage contract. If they come back to Islam and start praying their 5 prayers again, then they have to what? They have to now renew the what? Marriage contract. To remove themselves from khilaf. I think no one wants to take chances on these type of affairs because marriage is something very valuable. So people want to be on clarity. They don't want to be around individuals, don't know if they're married to them. You don't know if the marriage is valid. I don't know if is that truly my wife or if that's truly my husband. Nobody wants to feel that way. They want to feel secure in their marriage and in their family affairs. Nobody wants to feel in doubt. So based upon that, the person leaves the prayer, then the iddah starts. The iddah starts. When the iddah starts, upon what's correct and what's more safer for your religion, is that the person should renew the what? Marriage contract. Renew the marriage contract. If the person what? Comes back to Islam and they start to now pray their prayers again. Is it clear, everyone? Fine. What about the affairs of a person that prays some of their prayers? Prays some of their prayers. If it's before the marriage contract, if a person just, let's say they pray 3 or 2 sometimes, 2 prayers a day or 3 prayers a day. Huh? You gotta repent. I'm just rhetorical. Just listen. 3 prayers or 2 prayers a day. You understand, everyone? Like before the marriage contract, not permissible. Due to the fact that type of fisq is not what? That type of fisq is not acceptable. In regards to one playing with the 5 daily prayers. That type of fisq, if a person is upon that, then they're not adequate. Laysa kufu'an lizawja. Laysa kufu'an laha. She's not adequate. He's not adequate for her if he prays some of his prayers. And if she's upon that, where she prays 2 or 3 prayers a day, she's not adequate for what? She's not adequate for him. Why? Praying some of the prayers during the day necessitates fisq. It doesn't necessitate kufr, but it is a person becomes a fasiq. Is it clear, everyone? That person is a fasiq who prays some of their prayers a day, 2 or 3, 1. that person is a fasiq. Fasiq. Based upon that, like we said and mentioned everyone, that type of fisq cannot be tolerated. So a man marrying a woman like that, it's not befitting. Nor a woman marrying a what? Man like that. It's not what? Befitting. Nor is he kufu laha. Laysa kufu an laha. She's not adequate for him, and or at least she's not, and if she's upon that, she's not adequate for who? For him. Is it clear, everyone? Like, what about after the marriage contract? What if they get married and they start to become, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and protect you, they become tested in their religion and they start to what? Fall into this. Fall into praying sometimes. Sometimes they'll pray 5, and then certain days they'll fall short. They start praying 2 or 3. What do we say here? Same thing. But this type of fisq does not necessitate nullification of the marriage. It doesn't. But it does necessitate what? A grounds for what? For divorce. It does. Due to the fact that that's a type of what? Fisq. It's a type of fisq. But abandonment of all the 5 prayers, especially with the i'tiqad, with the belief that it's not obligatory, that will nullify one's Islam. In that case, that person, everyone, ridda in the Arabic language, or apostation, if a person totally abandons the prayer, one does not even have to utter the statement of divorce. The iddah already starts if they abandon the prayer totally. Is it clear? So, these are the matters in which you'll find that Ahl al-Ilm mentioned. The religion of Islam is complete in regards to these matters. To the point where you'll find that Ahl al-Ilm put a whole chapter devoted towards clarifying these type of matters. You see it, why? Why do they do that? Because it's very important. Very important. Let's just say now that person gets married. Now let's just say this. The 2 couples get married. They're religious. Then one day, wal-iyadhu billah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us and protect you, and protect our religion, and preserve it, and keep it strong for all till we meet Allah. Then that person starts to become weak. Let's just say the man starts to cut his beard, or he shaved his beard. Or he started to let his pants go beyond under his ankles. All these affairs are considered what, everyone? Fisq. That's fisq. That's a type of sin. In that instance, does that nullify the marriage? No. No, it doesn't. It doesn't nullify the marriage. However, it does necessitate what? The grounds for divorce. Absolutely. So if a man cuts his beard, absolutely, that substantiates for a woman that asks for a nullification of the marriage. Because that's considered fisq. Not only is it fisq, it's a major sin. Due to the fact that we know that's imitation of a woman. Men are supposed to grow their beards. That's what Allah has created them. That's how He created them. And shaving the face is part of following the evil satanic ways of the West. Is it clear, everyone? Good. Fine. So that's what we mentioned in this regard. That's just some details, and there's some others in regards to fisq. And we'll talk about, inshallah, which Ahl Ilm mentioned. طيب, as far as the affairs of khiyar, but we'll talk about that in a minute. I want to speak about that in a second. طيب, so number 1, the affair pertaining to adequacy. Adequacy in religion. Those are some of the details, and like we said, there's more to come. Also, we talked about the second condition, which is called equality in the 2 wives, as far as in being liberated. Is that a condition or not? We'll talk about that also. We'll talk about some of the customary practices and traditions that's in opposition against the religion. Those matters we'll also talk about, of what certain people have adopted of incorrect beliefs in this regard. We also mentioned last class the third matter, and we'll give the details on that. Equality, or people being equal between the 2 spouses as far as in what? Lineage. That we'll talk about that. Don't worry. That's also going to come. So, those are the matters that we wanted to start off the affair with. Before we move on, just to give a little bit of detail about the affair pertaining to lineage. You don't need to write this down yet because there's some details I just want everyone to understand for the moment. And then when the time comes to write, inshallah, we'll write. The matter pertaining to what they call al-kafa'a fi nasab, as far as in lineage. For example, a woman, she possesses a high, strong lineage. A strong lineage and a strong family background from a family that's known, let's just say, in the country. Like, for example, in Saudi Arabia, what's a strong tribe and family? I think certain people know. For example, the Utaybi tribe. In Saudi Arabia, Utaybi tribe is very known, is very famous, and is very widespread, and especially in the Middle Eastern region. That family is known, especially the Utaybi, for example. There's others. Just give an example. Can an Utaybiya, a woman from that tribe, marry, let's just say, from a person's family background that's not known? We said, in summary, no. It's not a prerequisite. And we'll talk about that in a minute, why. Because like we said, during the time, especially in the past, a lot of people who, for example, whose families were mawali due to war, and their families were brought into captivity. They were captives. And then they became free because they embraced Islam. You'll find that a lot of those instances from those family backgrounds, a lot of them became famous scholars, very strong, very strong religion. Some of them became people of money and wealth and religion and status. So you're now going to tell me this man who's of this status cannot marry a woman now that's not from the same family background, even though her family background is strong and his is from people who are taken in captivity. We would say whatever you want. No. They can marry each other. And like we find, especially in the past, from those mawali, freed slaves, who became great ulama. And they became great merchants, great businessmen, great minded people that did a lot for the religion and serviced the religion. And despite of that, you're now going to say that this man cannot marry this woman because of where his family came from? You understand, everyone? So based upon that, you'll find that these type of matters are not from the religion. Say, no, your family is not known, his is. Based upon that, we're not marrying you. But that you'll find that some of the prerequisites in certain countries, which has no origin and foundation in the religion, but it's something of a cultural practice that's not in its proper place at all. And you'll find nothing in the religion that gives that as a so-called criteria. But you'll find the great Imam al-Uthaymeen says about this. He said exactly what we just said. Give some detail about that. He said, for example, تكون المرأة ذات نسب وأن يكون الزوج لا نسب له وليس معنى لا نسب له أن لا يكون له أب. لا هو له أب ولكنه ليس من قبائل العرب. ليس من قبائل العرب والمرأة من قبائل العرب. وهو ما يعرف عندنا بالخضيري والقبلي. ليس don't say قبلي القبلي. وعند العامة البحتة الشيخ والعبد القبيلي يسمى شيخان. He just basically is giving a detail about this. He said a woman that has lineage and a husband that has no lineage. And when we say lineage, it doesn't mean that he does not have a father. Rather, you'll find they said that the meaning of it is from that he's not from the tribes of the Arab. He's not from the tribes of the Arab. And the woman is from the tribe of the Arab, for example. He said, and that's called with us al-Khudayri wal-Qabali. Khudayri wal-Khadiri al-Qabali. A person that is from a tribe or from a person or known family, or what have you. Just to keep it going, I want to keep this summarized because there's other details I want to give. وَلَيْسَ لَهُ قَبِيلًا. However, the man, he does not have a tribe. He said, what's incorrect is some of them, they will call him an abd. They will call him a servant or a slave based upon the origin. Because they say, al-asl anna ghayr al-qabili min al-mawali. Remember I just said this? I just said this a moment ago. A person that does not have a tribe, he's from the mawali. Meaning he was originally a what? His family came from Exactly, non-Arab, or they were captives, where they were not free. They were brought as captives. So they became freed slaves, or liberated slaves, or what have you. Especially he says, من الموالي من الذين أسلموا ولم يعرف لهم نسب عربي من الفرس أو الروم أو غيرهم على كل. He said, for these people who now have been free slaves, who became Muslim, it is not known of having an Arab lineage, due to the fact that some of them were from where? They were from Furs. They were from Furs. They were from Persia, or they were from Rome, and other than that. He said, at any rate, sufficiency in this affair, he said, we'll find and we'll talk about is different. But those type of affairs to say that it's stipulated that they have to be from the tribe and that is a prerequisite for the validity of a marriage contract is not correct. A person, like we said, does not have to be from a what tribe to marry a woman that is from a what? An Arab tribe. He said that's not, and that affair is not from our religion. He said, غير صحيح لفوات شرط الكفاءة وقال بعض العلماء إنه شرط للزوم وليس شرط للصحة وعلى كل just to skip down. He said والذي قبله كلاهما ضعيف. Both of them are all weak. أما القول الأول الذي قبله فهو من الغرائب. He said all of these affairs you'll find that certain people from the common folk try to utilize these affairs as a prerequisite for people getting married. All of it is what? It's baseless. Now listen to what he says here. This is exactly what we mentioned a couple of moments ago. He said, رَجُلٌ عَالِمٌ غَنِي كَرِيمٌ ذُو خُلُقْ دَيِّن ولكنه غير قبيلي يأخذ امرأة قبيلية جلفة نقول إن النكاح غير صحيح هذا نتعجب أن يقول به عالم من العلماء. He said, for now, a man that's a scholarly, rich, generous, great character, and religious. But he's not from a known tribe or tribe from the Arab. He said now, for him to embark upon a marriage with a woman from a tribe, known that she's from that Arab tribe or what have you, we're going to say that the marriage is not valid? He said this affair that we're amazed that someone to say that they're a scholar would say something like this. So those are the affairs that he said was mentioning about some of the matters pertaining to nasab. So those type of matters. He said in another example, alhamdulillah, we just mentioned just one. He said, امرأة رضيت هي ووليها الأقرب بهذا الرجل العالم العادل الكريم الشجاع ولكن غير قبيلي كيف تقول لابن العام البعيد افسخ إن شئت مع أننا نخشى أن يكون قصده بهذا الفسخ الحسد والغيرة أن يتزوجها مثل هذا الرجل فالصحيح أنه ليس لأحد أن يفسخ. He said you'll find that. He said likewise this affair is not shart lil-luzum. It's not something that's binding. For example, a woman who's pleased. And for example, let's just say وَوَلِيُّهَا الْأَقْرَبِ بِهَذَا الرَّجُلِ الْعَالِمِ. And her closest wali, he's pleased with this man. Let's just say that has knowledge, he's righteous, upright, and he's brave. And he's not from the Arab tribe. He said, how are we now going to say, for example, كيف تقول لابن العم البعيد? How can you say now to the child of the uncle, of the paternal uncle that's far in the family structure, what have you, you need to nullify this marriage. This marriage needs to be what? Abrogated. And he said, what we are in fear of is that his intent behind this is that he's envious and jealous. That she would marry a man of his stature. So he's just utilizing that in order to what? Nullify the affair, even though it's something what? Something good. So we mentioned, everyone, that the affair pertaining to this is not something that is what? A prerequisite. And like we said, all the evidences to substantiate what we were mentioning are all going to come. So like we said, this is just an opening, an introduction to what's coming. You'll find even from the great Imam that he mentioned pertaining to this, he said there's something happened. Now listen to this. He said what is correct is not for one to now abrogate or so-called nullify the marriage based upon these type of affairs. For example, so-and-so is a good man, known for what? Uprightness, person that's adequate, good religion. The man has the financial means to take care of it to the end of it. He said, وَمَا أَحْسَنْ مَا حَصَلَ فِي قَضِيَّةٍ عِنْدَ أَحَدِ قُضَاةِ هَذَا الْبَلَدِ سَابِقًا. He said how great it was that something had taken place with a case with one of the judges of the city previously. He said, تزوجت امرأة قبيلية لشخص غير قبيلي زوجها أبوها ورضيت بذلك فجاء أعمامها يتحاكمون إلى الشيخ القاضي فقال لهم لا بأس أنا أفسخ النكاح لكم ولكن بشرط أن تلتزموا بالإنفاق عليها مدى الحياة وهو قاض ذكي يعرف أنهم لن يلتزموا بذلك. So he said this the type of example that he said one of the cases that was brought to him before. He said that the woman married a man that she was qabiliya. She was from a known tribe, known family. لشخص غير قبيلي, a man that was not from a tribe or known tribe. Her father married her off. And she was pleased with that. So her paternal uncles came, coming to the judge in order to complain. يتحاكمون إلى الشيخ القاضي فقال لهم. So he said to them when they came complaining to him, he said, no problem. I will nullify the marriage contract. However, now listen to this, with the condition that you are now obliged to take care of her and spend money on her as long as she alive. Spend money. And he was an intelligent judge, because he knew that they were not They knew that they were not going to adhere to that. As soon as affairs talk about money and responsibilities pertaining to money, people start to think twice now. Right? He said, تَنَاظَرُوا فِي مَا بَيْنَهُمْ وَإِذَا الْإِنْفَاقَ عَلَيْهَا سَيَكُونُ مُتْعِبًا لَهُمْ. He said, then they turned and discussed the affair amongst themselves, because they knew that the spending upon her will be what? Mut'ib. Be something exhausting and wearying that they will have to take care of her the rest of her life. فَقَالُوا لَا. So then they changed their minds. No. So what did they say? إِرْجِعُوا وَرَاءَكُمْ. He said, now go back to what? Your previous affair. So this is to establish the intelligence of the judge, due to the fact of his knowledge that he knew that they were not going to what? He knew that they weren't going to what, everyone? To adhere to the spending upon her. أما لو علمنا أنهم سيلتزمون لقلنا إنكم ليس لكم حق. He said, even if that was the case, that they, just to say for argument's sake, they said, okay, we will. He said, even if that was the case, they still have no what? Right to do that. He said, the affair that we're going to mention, inshallah, that's just some of the different examples of things and cases that happen in order to so-called utilize affairs of kafa'ah, of so-called adequacy, where it's misplaced, and in certain instances where it is in its what? Proper place. Where the book of Allah, subhanahu, jalla sha'nu, supports the affair, and the matters that go against the religion where there's no evidence for it. Is it clear, everyone? We already talked about some of the evidences as far as with the book of Allah last class. We talked about how the man cannot marry a woman that's not from number one, from Islam, of course, or from the people of the book. The people of the book of these days, as we said. But if it was some other affair in another time, with the shart, with the condition of ihsan, as Allah mentions, because we know that Allah did allow that. But however, the affair was detested, especially in regards to, like we said, in these days where these women do not believe that guarding their chastity is something that's priority and paramount. Rather, you'll find that they believe that it's something that's what? Not suitable for these times. I could be a person of indecency, and you need to accept that because you still living in the dinosaur ages, as some of them say. Which is all what? Nonsense. Or you're living still in the times of old, as some of them say. All that's absolute nonsense. The point of the matter is that you'll find, as we mentioned, that the affair revolves around what they call ihsan, where a woman has to be and believe, and her belief that chastity is paramount. Guarding her modesty and her chastity is obligatory and she has to believe that, even if she's a woman from the book. Hence, if that's the case, where she doesn't believe that, but it's not befitting that a Muslim man marries a woman from the book, then it's incumbent upon him to find a Muslim woman that's also chast and marry that woman. Is it clear, everyone? Fine. So that's from some of the instances we mentioned last class. Just to remind everyone. Fine. The affair of khiyar. Now, a person might ask, what does that mean? We already gave a glimpse of some of the choices or options that a person can have in the grounds for divorce if they want to continue or if they want to what? Or if they want to nullify. And all those type of affairs will also clarify. It's going to come. That's the reason why we said in this chapter it's called what everyone? Kafa'ah, sufficiency. And the second word was what? Khiyar. Khiyar. Khiyar means option or what? Choice. Option or choice. A person might say, well, what does that mean? You'll find the Ahl Ilm that they say, for example, khiyar al-aib. Khiyar al-aib. Wa'ala an al-khiyar fi nikah. Choice in marriage, it has two reasons. The first one is al-aib. The first one is al-aib, a flaw, or some type of discrepancy, or flaw, or some type of what? Some type of shystiness. As a matter of fact, we'll keep it just simple. A flaw, or a deficiency, or a sickness. Let's just keep it like that for now. For example, the husband will marry a woman and then find that she's ma'ib. Let's just say, for example, he finds out that something is on her body that it wasn't expected, for example. Or vice versa. Vice versa. She finds that the man, something that is not there that needs to be, or was there that she did not know about. You understand, everyone? So in that instance, the person has the choice. They can either continue the marriage or they could just say that I just want to move on and separate in kindness and that's it. And everyone should protect each one's honor. Is it clear, everyone? Right, so we'll get into the details of that. We're just keeping it general. So the first one is a sabab al-awwal al-aib, a flaw, a discrepancy, or what? Or some type of deficiency. Whether it be a blemish, whether it be a physical affair, or something pertaining to intimacy, all those are things we'll talk about. Don't worry. Now, person has the khiyar, that's the choice. So a person now that goes into that, let's just say, they go into it, they tell them. So they make it clear. Or they find out after the marriage contract. After the marriage contract is made, they find out something that was not known. Does it nullify the marriage? No. But the person now has the option to either what? They have the option. So I said the word khiyar. They have the option to either what? Continue or to what? Or divorce the person and leave him part in kindness. طيب. The second affair, الثاني فوات صفة مشروطة. He said the non-validity or the fawat, sifatun mashruta. Fawat meaning that what was missed out on was something that was a condition. But they found out that wasn't the case. For example, that the husband, he's thinking that when he marries this woman, that she's a bikr. She's a what? That she's a virgin. Then it became that she was what? Previously married. Or she was not other than, or she wasn't like that. Or she was in the sit down. This is another reason why I tell women, when they sit in the sit down, take the makeup off your face. Take the makeup off your face. Because now they have so many ways that they could change the whole contour of a woman's face. And then when she removes it, she does not look like that. That's known, especially in these days that we live in. Even with the pictures, even with the different types of manipulations that could be made. The man marries her and then he finds out that that's not the case. Or what have you. This type of affair is the example of what they call fawat sifatin mashruta. Mashruta. Losing out on something that was what? Stipulated as a what? As a condition. As a condition. You'll find that the great Imam al-Hafid ibn Hajar rahimahullah, that he said, you'll find that it says, سيذكره المؤلف من إسلام أحد الزوجين وما أشبه ذلك. That's what we'll talk about inshallah. As far as the third matter, we'll clarify that later inshallah. The point of the matter is, everyone, فهذا الخيار, this type of choice, إما سببه عيب في المرأة أو الزوج أو فوات شرط مشروطة. So, this type of affair pertaining to this chapter, which is pertaining to what? Khiyar, choice. Either its reason is number one, what is it? Aib. Aib means a flaw, a discrepancy, or some type of blemish or sickness. Is it clear? Or fawat sifat mashruta, or losing out on a stipulated characteristic. That person made a condition and they didn't attain it. And we just gave the example of that, similar to what? A woman being a virgin, then it comes out in the marriage. That's not the case. Or she was wearing things on her face, or wearing contacts, and the man might have thought that this hurts her eye color, so what have you. All those matters, and this is why I tell the sisters, when you sit to marry a man, take all that off. Take the makeup off, take the contacts off, show truly who you are. Make a man like you for who you are. And if he does not like you for who you are, move on. Until Allah gives you a what? A husband that likes you for who you are. Is it clear? طيب. So, sababuhu aib. Or fawat sifat al-mashruta. Or he lost out on a prerequisite what? Prerequisite condition or sifa. Or description. And I just gave the example. She had all these things on her face, and it came out that wasn't the case. So in that instance, the man can either what? He has the option to either what? He can continue the marriage, or he can what? Nullify it. So that's the reason why you'll find that it's called what? Khiyar. Khiyar. Is it clear? So we'll stop here, inshallah. Any questions about the lesson, anyone? تفضل. فاء سين قاف فسق فاء سين قاف فسق. There's more details that we're going to talk about that, everyone. That we just gave some examples about fisq pertaining to sin or things of that like. But the khiyar is kha ya alif ra. Kha ya alif ra. Khiyar. Khiyar. Any other question about the lesson, anyone? Anything else? That's it. نكتفي بهذا القدر وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.